As Vice President, Marketing and Communications, NBA Asia, Shelia Rasu is responsible for the overall marketing, social media, public relations, and social responsibility efforts for the NBA across Asia Pacific. Prior to joining NBA Asia in May 2011, Rasu served as Senior Vice President of Fleischmann Hillard in Singapore. Throughout her career, Rasu has received a variety of professional distinctions, including being named Top 50 Asia Women Leaders and earning Marketing Magazine's 2010 Digital Campaign of the Year Award. Please welcome Shelia Rasu.
For those of you that were following the NBA Finals this year, it was actually our most watched NBA Finals in about 19, 20 years. It was also the first time in our league history that two teams met in 3 consecutive NBA Finals to fight it out for the NBA championship. Obviously, we knew who won this year. We had 265 media from 35 countries. We had more than 222 million views on Facebook. About a quarter of our players in the league are from outside of the US. We also have, speaking about an international brand, we have 13 offices worldwide. We have, as I mentioned before, as you guessed, we have 9 Australians on NBA team rosters. Soon to be 10, because we had 1 in the draft this year, so hopefully 10 at the start of the next season. And just basically, as we try to grow our business, we try to see how many more international players we can get. So we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing in that space later on. NBA programming. Right now, we've grown our presence. We are available in about 215 countries and territories in 49 languages. We also have a 24/7 channel called NBA TV, which reaches about 129 countries. We want to be everywhere, so we also have merchandise. We have merchandise that are sold in more than 125,000 stores in more than 100 countries. And on e-commerce, we ship to about more than 200 countries each year. We have 14 international e-commerce sites. And as a tidbit, Australia is actually our largest revenue in terms of online sales outside of the US. So we have very passionate fans in Australia. Recently, Campaign Magazine came up with their top 1,000 rankings for Asia Pacific, and the NBA debuted at 63. As a comparison, the next closest sports entity came in at 68, which was the EPL. So that basically makes us the #1 sports property in Asia. And so today I wanted to talk, a little and share a little bit about how we at the NBA approach marketing our game and our brand internationally through content, localization, and strategic partnerships. Some of this may not be groundbreaking, but I hope it will help stimulate some ideas as you think about taking your brand internationally. So I'll start a little bit closer to home, a couple of examples in what we do in Australia, and then I'll move on to a couple of examples of what we do in other markets. So in Australia, we have a long-term partnership with ESPN. They air more than 200 games throughout the season, and as you guys are aware, most of you, since you guys are Australian, ESPN is, probably reaches about a quarter of the TV households. This season, our ratings just came out, and about 1.2 million hours of game coverage was consumed just in Australia alone. That's a lot of hours and a lot of games. But we all know that Australia is a crazy sports country. We have, digital partnerships that help us run our digital destinations and our social media assets. So with Perform, they have a presence here in Australia. We work with them in Australia and several other markets around the world. About 60% of all NBA digital visitors actually come from outside of the US. We have about 21 international web destinations, 62 social media accounts across 21 regions. We want to be everywhere. In Australia alone, we actually have 1 million Australians that follow us on social media. Other things we have a direct-to-consumer product called NBA League Pass. Show of hand if anyone owns or knows what it is. NBA League Pass? Great. So Australia is actually our #1 market in terms of revenue for NBA League Pass outside of the US. It's our on-demand games and content that you can access all throughout the season. And so with this, we try to reach as many people as possible through as many ways as possible. Here's just an example of how we try to localize in market. We ran an out-of-home campaign in Melbourne during the Australian Open. And, we used local players. I think you can see it's Dante Exum on the tram, and reached about 1.5 million commuters during that week alone. VR is an important one. We have a partnership with Next VR, and this season we actually produced and aired one game a week in VR on our D2C product, which is the NBA League Pass. Show of hands if anyone has actually seen our game in VR. Looks good? Technology is still improving, so the hope is we can produce more and more games as the technology improves. E-commerce. We have a local e-commerce site in Australia offering NBA merchandise. As I mentioned before, outside of the US, Australia is #1 in terms of overall online sales. We also have merchandise in more than 90 Rebel stores across the country. And recently, just earlier this year, the league actually launched NBA academies in strategic locations around the world, including one right here in Australia in Canberra, where we help to identify local talent and create pathways to professional basketball. The hope is one day we will find the next superstar from one of these markets. Of course, Australians, we already have quite a few, but we know that the talent is there, so we want to make sure we're here. And so that's a little bit about what we've done in Australia. Esports, I think I saw in the intro, is a big focus now. It's the buzzword right now. There are more than 2 billion video game players worldwide. The video game market, brought in revenue of about 99.6 billion just last year alone. And esports is looking to grow by 50% by 2020 to about 589 million. And so I wanted to show sort of a quick example of how the NBA is trying to tap into this market. Actually, this example is from New Zealand. So if we can cue the video.
Let's Play Live presents New Zealand's first televised NBA 2K17 tournament.
Drop the beat.
The mission is simple. Beat the man in front of you to move on. Only 16 players advance to the knockout stages, and there are no second chances. Elite 8 to the Final 4, and then on to the championship round. Who will rise to the top and be crowned NBA 2K17 champion?
The NBA 2K17 tournament in New Zealand that's actually going on right now. The finals are actually later this month on the 26th. And it basically has a $10,000 prize pool. We have about 254 players that are competing. We're new to the space, so we're trying everything. We're doing celebrity showdowns. We're also doing live telecasts on Twitch, Twitter, the LPL website, as you can see on the screen, and also on Facebook. And if this is successful, the hope is we can roll it out in other regions. So we're testing new things. And then earlier this year, we actually announced plans to launch an NBA 2K E-League. Again, eSports, that's the buzzword right now. And basically 17 teams in the NBA have committed to participate in the inaugural E-League next year, in the first quarter of next year. So what this means is that we're going to have an E-Lakers, an E-Warriors that basically fields players, E-gamers, that would make this team, and they compete against each other. Hopefully, at some point, all 30 teams will have an E-League, but for now, we have 17 teams that have signed up for it. It's also the first official eSports league that is actually operated by a US professional sports league. So we're quite excited about that. We also know, as big a brand as we are, we can't be everywhere and we can't do everything, and we need help. And so what we try to do is we try to work with local federations and leagues wherever we can to promote the sport. We truly believe that if there is a healthy local ecosystem, that it can only help the sport grow. And so where we can, we try to work with the local federations to either promote basketball, run grassroots initiatives, and just expose kids to basketball by putting a basketball in their hand. Then I wanted to touch a little bit about some of the things that we're focusing a lot more this year. They're called Heritage Nights, Heritage Celebrations. It's a way for us to connect with our fans on a deeper level. And if you've been following the NBA, you would know that this is the 6th year that we've celebrated Chinese New Year. We had about 6 teams that had in-arena celebrations. We had a new TV spot. We even had special uniforms to commemorate the season. Again, a way for us to localize our content and connect with the local audience. We also ran a Bollywood Night. This was a game in January between the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors. It was also the first NBA game that we aired live on Facebook in India, and we had about 2 million unique views and about 350,000 video views. Other Heritage Nights that we've done, this is a limited theme merchandise from the Clippers when they celebrated their Japanese Heritage Night. We've also done Korea Heritage Nights by doing online sweeps, promotions, giving out limited merchandise. Again, a way for us to connect with a segment of the audience. And this year, we actually launched the first ever league-wide Filipino Heritage Week. Filipinos are extremely passionate fans. They are by far one of the most passionate fans we have in the league. And this year, we actually worked with the Miami Heat and the Warriors to activate around Filipino Heritage Week. As a reference, about 40% of both the Miami Heat and the Warriors' Facebook following are from the Philippines. So again, consumer insights is important. We did everything in arena from courtside signage, special Filipino Heritage Week t-shirts, which we sold both in arena and in the Philippines at our stores. We shot different team content that we used on social and digital. And then in the Philippines, we actually had several viewing parties. So it's an extension, right, of our Filipino Heritage Week from the US offline in the local market. We had viewing parties, and we had NBA talent in town. So I'm just going to show a quick video of sort of the entire campaign.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Filipino Heritage Week.
This is why we play.
So the NBA, in partnership with our local partners here in the Philippines, are celebrating Filipino Heritage Week. This is one of the ways we can bring the game much closer to them.
I want to take a moment to shout out all our fans watching tonight's game in the Philippines. Enjoy the game, and let's go Heat.
We'd like to welcome in the viewers now in the Philippines by saying Mabuhay. We appreciate your support.
It's a great honor to be here tonight. I want to thank all the Filipino Americans, and I want to thank the Golden State Warriors.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome NBA legend, Glenn Rice!
the passion level is so high here and the love for the game. You see so many people playing in flip-flops without shoes, and that's almost unheard of, but that just goes to show you how much they love the game of basketball, and I think that's a great thing.
Work towards the culmination of the game was actually the highest viewed game on our local broadcasters network. So that's the power of localizing content. It can even help your ratings if you do it the right way. So I sort of hope that gives you a snapshot of how we at the NBA sort of market to the international audience and localize our content to make it relevant in market. And hopefully this will help stir some ideas as you think about expanding overseas. But just to recap, focus on content, localization is key, and then leveraging strategic partnerships. Thank you.